Greetings, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Super excited for all of you guys out there in the math world, leaders, speakers, presenters. We have a wonderful week coming up next week. So many of you are in the trenches doing so many great things, and kudos to all of you. Wishing you the best. Super excited. Can't wait to dive into some of that. But until then, I do want to go right into making some announcements with you. First things first, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on X Factor EDU network hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph. You can also find it on Spotify and on all of the social media platforms. We're doing our best to expand the message as much as possible. And for those that are interested in supporting us, please reach out to Dr. Matthew Joseph for this particular podcast, and we will take care of you there. In addition, I do want to remind you guys to follow me on social media. Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. In addition to that, please check out the website, www.india-white.com for books, blogs, or to schedule me for a speaking or coaching event. If you're going to some of the conferences coming up, NCSM and NCTM and things like that, you will be able to find links on the website for discounted rates of workbooks and things if you do not get some of my door prizes and things like that. So with that said, some of the upcoming events, we have NCSM and NCTM around the corner. And I'm super excited about this. And I do kind of want to share for you just really quickly, like those two sessions for those that are going so that I can explain kind of where I'm at with this. So I'm going to share my LinkedIn page with you. So I already said, hey guys, I'm excited. Thanks, Vanessa, for liking it. Okay, so listen, so this is NCSM. So I will be getting there, NCSM. I'll be there Tuesday. My first session, get gritty with it. It is a Sabbath session. We're going to have a great time at 10:30. So come check us out. It's a workshop. We will have the materials for you, grit workbooks, things like that. In addition to that, the next time will be on Wednesday, September 25th, where we'll be talking about eliminating the opportunity gap for marginalized students. Thank you so much, NCSM, for this opportunity. And that one, I believe, is the major session. And then on Wednesday, following the 9:15 session, you'll see here, following the 9:15 session, you'll have that one that says Making Equity Work Through Cultural Inclusivity at 12:15 on Wednesday. And then I have another session titled Implementing Equitable Math Practices Through Project-Based Learning. And I'm doing that one with Dr. Maggie McHugh. So we are co-presenting together on that. That is going to be wonderful. We will have handouts for you there. At the gritty session, you will have door prizes, and we're super excited about it. So I hope that you guys are able to catch us. And I might bring some door prizes for the rest of them. And if not door prizes, you'll definitely get a discount from me on some of the materials. Some of you will be wanting the Equity Counts book. You might want the Grit workbook for teachers, whatever it is. Or if you're wanting, just some other things, we could definitely come through for you. So I'm super excited about that. And thank you so much to Savas for being a wonderful support through this. Now for NCTM, I will be with you guys Thursday, NCTM. Join us. We'll have a live recording at Savas talking about grit. I'm super excited about it. Can't wait to meet all the amazing people that make these things happen. So check us out at 1:00 podcast. And then continuing that on Thursday, 2:30, room in 140. It's a grit workshop. So we will have grit workbooks for you. We'll be having door prizes at many of these events. And that session at 2:30 is effective teaching practices to cultivate grit in the math classroom. Again, effective teaching practices. I'm super excited about this session, by the way. Effective teaching practices to cultivate grit in the math classroom. And then also on Thursday is going to be the affinity groups at 5:15 to 6:15. And I will be chatting with district math coaches and some of you absolutely wonderful rock stars out there. So I'm looking forward to just collaborating with everybody there. So that's going to be on Thursday at 5:15 to 6:15, where we'll be talking about district math coaches and what we need to do to help our students at the level of leadership that you're in. Now jump over to Friday. Friday will be at the Hyatt Regency Ballroom that morning at 7 o'clock. I can't wait to talk to all of you rock stars in California and to just, I guess, share my heart and to just give you some cutting edge stories and updates and things like that. Thank you so much, Savis, for being awesome with just how much you supported people. And then you guys can also catch me at 9:30 with the Amazing Tribe Black Women in Math group. At 9:30, we'll be at the Lakeside Center, letter E354A. Again, that's letter E354A. So, and that session is titled Teach and Think Like a Black Woman. I think it's going to be really interesting to hear the stories and the strategies from all of the different leaders in that session. So with that said, you have my itinerary for these events. Thank you so much to NCTM, NCSM, and Savis, and to all of my friends, to the tribe that makes NCTM and NCSM great. So with that said, I am now going to get back to the other sessions just to mention them. Thanks for helping me with that. I just wanted to make sure that the tribe knew where to find me, where to whether it's to attend one of the sessions or get a grit workbook or whatever. You know where to go now. Okay, so speaking of other sessions, so we mentioned NCSM and NCTM. I am also slotted to speak at NATM and also Iowa ICTM. We'll also be, I'm slotted to speak at Ohio OCTM. Also, I'll see you guys at ATM and E. I'm slotted to speak at Northwest Conference, slotted to speak at South Carolina's conference, and then the Making Math Moments conference. There are so many wonderful people that are speaking. I'm just humbled to be among the amazing group. Peter Lytle Hall, Vanessa, so many people. Just I can't call them all. They're all speaking. Dr. Nikki Newton. There's so many people speaking. So check that list out. Making Math Moments. It's a virtual session, virtual conference. My date on that conference is November 17th. So for those that are asking, it's November 17th. So with that said, there are other conferences that I do not have on here that I will update for you as we're going along. I have a couple of other virtual ones. I know we've got FAMT I'll be speaking at as well. Also FAMS conference. Thank you, FAMS, for that support. I'll be speaking at those virtually. So I'm super excited to support Florida as well. All right. Now, if you're joining this, podcast, this podcast is for leaders who, if you're trying to close the achievement gap, but you're having classroom management issues or your students aren't motivated to do the work, then you can join this podcast, Grit and Equity Talks podcast. And I will give you guys some inside nuggets from my heart, research, and just real truths as to how we can continue to work together to bridge the gap and to cultivate grit in our classrooms. Also, check out the Grit Mini Workshop, Grassroots Workshop. Check that out, whether it's a PLC or a personal thing, or if you're just interested about grit, things like that, check it out. Give it a shot. Thank you to Grassroots Workshops, Rockstars, for that. I also wanted to remind you of the Grit Academy. This is just an online tutoring opportunity for you, for students grades K-12. Please send them my way. I would love to help them pass and to increase in their math abilities. Now, with that said, I now want to go into our topic today. And I want to talk about grit. I want to say it's all about grit and why grit matters. So many times, and especially in education, we're like digging around trying to find the solutions. We're trying to find the answers. Like, how do we close the gap? Like, what is the problem? Is it demographics? Is it, is it because the student comes from a certain community, or maybe the student is homeless? Like right now, studies have shown we have about 1 million students that are homeless. You know what I mean? In the United States, this is not This is under the age of 18. So when you have this type of data and these facts, it leaves that uneasiness in you, like, oh my word, like what can we do to help, right? So after all of my studies, I've studied demographics, right? I've studied equitable practices. I've studied talent. I've studied all different types of things. And I have found that grit is definitely essential to help us to bridge the gap, no matter what the background, no matter what the socioeconomic status is. If you can help students to build grit and give them a way to do it, then you're going to help them win. So I just want to share now some benefits of grit, and then I'm going to get into some articles and things that I found for you guys. So first things first, benefits of grit. First things first, and this is from me, it keeps you focused on your purpose. See, whether you're a teacher, if you're a teacher and you're like, why am I doing this? Why do I come to class every day? Like, why? What's the purpose? If you can see that you are one piece of the entire puzzle for student success, then you understand that your purpose is to simply provide that next tier level of support, or your purpose is to help that student to have an epiphany as to what their purpose is. You might be there to mentor. You might be there to help. Mentoring is also another great factor needed for success. And so many times, this is a flaw of many leaders. We assume that leaders only should mentor outside of the classroom environment, and that's where we've missed it. We need students to have mentors in the classroom. That's why peer-to-peer mentoring is so powerful, and that's why students learn from each other. But when you have a mentor, an adult mentor for that student, like I hope you guys have mentoring programs in your schools, in your districts, because it will make a lifelong difference for the better. But when you're talking about like mentoring and things like that, that helps students to be held accountable and to know what their purpose is and to want to meet that purpose. And so it also helps them to bounce back. So when you have grit, you're helping students to bounce back. And as an educator, you can bounce back from those tough emotional days. You can bounce back from, unmet expectations. You gave a test and it wasn't what you thought it would be. It's wonderful. It also helps you to exceed expectations. I'm telling you, I've seen so many students. I mean, you can look it up online of all the students who started as a first generation student, started from just humble beginnings or, from whatever setting. And they had some type of adversity that they had to overcome, and they overcame it, and they exceeded expectations. They became valedictorian. They got $1 million in scholarships. Like, they did something just astronomical. It's possible through grit. And so it also gives you a better quality of life because, for instance, if these students, if they decided to settle, in their ideology and in their situation, then they would have settled for their quality of life. And so when we have grit, whether it's an adult or we're teaching students to have grit, it helps to improve their quality of life. And honestly, every single educator, principal, superintendent here, all of you want your students to have a better quality of life. That's why you're in education. Doesn't matter their backgrounds. They're a person, and you want them to have a better quality of life. So it only makes sense that you do what you can to cultivate grit for those students so that they can end up winning in life, right? Okay. It also helps you feel fulfilled because, for instance, if you're doing a weight loss journey, you're working out and, you're shedding pounds or whatever you've got going on. And kudos to all of y'all, and kudos to the selfie squad that I'm a part of, that we are making it happen. we do workouts and then we, do selfies. So anyway, it's one of those things, like, even if you're working out and you're trying to, meet a certain goal, you begin to feel excellent when you start seeing the results. We all know the results don't really start coming until about a month and a half, 2 months down the road. If you're consistent and you have grit, you have to be really gritty about it. Gotta be, right? Can't, and it's tempting to, especially now, like during this time, fall, I mean, all the pumpkin spice latte and pumpkin cheesecakes. And I mean, I was just at the grocery store the other day and they had a pumpkin pumpkin flavored creamer for coffee. And I'm like, oh my word, it just looked so good. And so, you have all these temptations all around you, but you have to learn, right, to pick up grit, make a grit move, choose not to do it, right, and be successful. And then that helps you to feel fulfilled when you start seeing those results, whether you're working out or whether you're, working on writing a book or a business and things like that. And, it's all about that goal of how can I win in what I'm trying to do. And if you have the proper supports set up, you should be able to win. There might be some friction, right? There might be some pushback, but at the end of the day, you should still be able to win. It also helps you break cycles, whether that's a cycle of poverty, cycle of emotional or mental, thought processes, fixed mindset, things like that. And it helps, of course, leading right into that with mental health. So if you, maybe you suffered from some various mental conditions, whether it's depression or some other things like that, if you understand this process of grit and how to cultivate a growth mindset and how to be, optimistic and have that affirmation for yourself, those positive affirmations, you can overcome. But if you have a condition, then yes, you need to continue to seek proper treatment, things like that. But at the same time, grit is a benefit. And that is why I wanted to talk about grit and the benefits of grit for you guys today, because it's all about grit. Grit really does matter. And so with that said, I do want to now share my screen and talk a little bit with you. Thanks for letting me share that, by the way, about what I found online about grit and gratitude. And it says 2 qualities to benefit well-being. Well-being increases when we practice both of these qualities together. This is so powerful. And this is all about growth mindset, having the optimism, right? To believe in the day, to believe in yourself, to believe that there's hope and opportunity for something good that's going to come out of this. Like, we have to feed the fires of grit and gratitude, feed those fuels inside of our beings and our spirits and our souls. Like, we've got to feed those things so that we can pursue our destinies and be successful. So this is written in July 9th and reviewed by Devon Fry. Vicky Enns here wrote it, so giving her credit. She's all about resilience and connection. Awesome. And so her key points: practicing gratitude can reduce stress and increase hopelessness. Practicing grit may also increase hope and allow someone to develop a growth mindset. See, grit, that is the catalyst. That is the match that you have to strike in order to start that process of growth mindset, resilience, time management, self-efficacy, like going forward. Like you have to have grit for it to all make sense. And so then it says here, grit and gratitude together can create a synergy of flexibility and resilience. Great resilience in time, folks. Great resilience in time. So it says, what promotes positive mental, emotional, physical, and relational, spiritual health? This can sometimes be frustrating pursuit with confusing and contradictory messages, of what we need to become more resilient and improve our overall well-being. Okay. So now she's going to talk to us about these benefits of gratitude. Let's look into gratitude. All right. So it says there's a growing body of research that highlights the benefits of what many of us have been taught as essential to being well in this world. Noticing what you're grateful for in life. This is so true. You have to learn how to be grateful, right, for your lot in life. And in America, especially, it can be tough at times if you're always looking over the other side and thinking that the grass is greener on the other side, and it could lead, if you're not grateful, then it could lead to, other symptoms like depression and things. So being grateful and having gratitude, it has those positive impacts. Look at some of them below here. So reduction in stress, depression, and hopelessness, right? We should never pull the plug on ourselves, on our lives, or anyone else. Okay? Never too late. If you're grateful for what you have and who you have around you, who you have in your team, you can make it work. And then here, increased sense of motivation and agency in life. Expanded sense of positive self-esteem, not narcissism, but positive self-esteem. Deepened sense of spirituality, increased creativity and openness. Excellent. So these are some things that will help you, and also improved relationships and a greater appreciation of others. When you are grateful, you really do appreciate others. Like, that's why, like, I can't wait to see so many of you guys at NCTM and NCSM, and just to hug necks and to smile, take pictures and all that, and photobomb, and give you guys as much grit as we've got. So, I'm excited. I'm excited about talking about how we can bridge the gap together, and the great things that are going to come out of these sessions, and the sessions that you guys are all doing. And it's so beautiful to know that in these two spaces, all of us combined are, we're all a part of educating the nation and educating our students and teachers, and it's a high honor. So I can't wait for that. So that's a little bit about grit there. And now I want to go into another source that I found for us. And it's saying to us, why is grit important? This is by Clarissa. Okay. So it says here, why is grit important? 16 reasons. So she says grit is the secret sauce that helps you to push through challenges, bounce back from setbacks. That's the thing. Sometimes we underestimate the power to be able to bounce back. And we have to continue to remind ourselves that this is what life's all about. We have to learn the process of how to bounce back from setbacks. So she's talking about this article. She's going to keep going. She mentioned Dr. Duckworth there. And then she says, Duckworth's research, so grit is more than talent. It says that grit is a better predictor of success than talent or intelligence. Grit can be developed for those that are of maybe a more fixed mindset, or they just don't understand grit. It says here, grit is not a fixed trait, right? But it's something that can be cultivated and nurtured over time. Like if you're in a garden, for you gardeners out there, rock on. And you're trying to, cultivate that soil and get it going fresh again, and to grow, you've planted. You'll need grit. And then it says here, grit is universal. Grit is present in people from all walks of life, and has been shown to contribute success in various domains, such as education, sports, and to my business entrepreneur rock stars. There you go, in business. And it's universal. I love that about grit. Grit is not a respecter of persons. And it's something like, there are barriers in life for some people more than others. We know that. But grit makes it to where you have a perspective that despite the barriers, you can achieve what you want if you are set up for it, around the right people, and you know that that's your purpose. See, there's a couple things here too. It says, without a vision, the people perish. If you don't have a vision, then, you might not get as far as you'd like. So that is an area of focus as well. But then they also talk about like this thing, like if you're not invited to a seat at the table, then build your own table, like do your own thing. I think it's very interesting because that takes a lot of grit. And it's so funny because you see so many people that they go back to school at like age 70, age 80, and they like get a doctorate. They graduate from high school. People, just starting new adventures, starting businesses, starting over, doing side hustles. It's all about grit, And so I just thought that was very interesting that, they were talking about that to us. So now let's continue with this to see what else they had to say about why grit is important. So let's look into it. So First things first, characteristics of gritty individuals, passion. You have to care, right? You have to have honest passion, not, not acting passion, but like honest, deep love for a subject, activity, or pursuit. Like I love math and I love grit. So I don't think I'll ever stop talking about any of those for the rest of my life. It talks about how when you have passion, that fuels your motivation, drive, and your commitment. And it helps you also with your pursuits and to ultimately achieve success. If you're passionate about something, you will make it happen, period. Okay. Perseverance, again, which is the bulk of my work, perseverance, resilience. So persistence, it's the capacity to persist in the face of obstacles and setbacks. And it helps you to maintain focus and determination, which remember I just mentioned to you, you need to have that focus, and grit helps you to focus. Okay. So, all right. And then it says here, resilience, the next one. Resilience, it helps you to have the capability or the capacity, to recover quickly. That's the key there, to recover quickly from difficulties and adapt to adversity. Resilient individuals can effectively cope with stress, setbacks, and failure, using these experiences as opportunities for growth. And growth, not just growth, but like learned experiences, seeing a mistake as a learned experience, not the end all be all, right? And as you're growing, learning, right? Now, grit also encourages a growth mindset. We know Dr. Carol Dweck, she has coined this term, growth mindset. And she says here, the passion for stretching yourself and sticking to it, especially when it's not going well, is the hallmark of the growth mindset. I love it. It's that resilience. It's a grit, the mindset that allows people to thrive during some of the most challenging times in their lives. So shout out to her. And then they have this here, growth mindset. The definition here, the belief that intelligence and abilities can be developed through hard work, effort, and learning, compared to a fixed mindset, right? Which I think it's so tiring to have a fixed mindset. I think it would be really tiring to live that way. It says the belief that intelligence and abilities are fixed traits and cannot be changed significantly. We have to be careful as educators that we don't assume. I remember I had students who, I had a math challenge in my class, a math competition. And it was like a boot camp. And I had all of my students were able to come and get tutoring during lunch. And the student that had the most, they got an award. Like, I don't know if it was like a gift card, but they got something. And I had students of all backgrounds. I had African Americans, females, males. I had Hispanics. I had just all backgrounds, Caucasians, everyone. And lo and behold, the student that had it was a student that they looked at him and perceived that he was not able to do it. I mean, I still have photos of when this child won because it was so touching. This was like over 10 years ago. And he's African American and he had dreads. And, at the time, he liked to wear his pants, a little saggy and things like that. And he was very into his, into who he was. And he was just vibing himself. He won the contest. This child would come to my class. I think it was like Algebra 2 and he would come in and he would get that one-on-one tutoring all the time. But not only did he win, he also passed the assessment for that year, the standardized assessment. So it paid off. But I say that because, had I looked at everyone in the room, I would not have automatically thought this kid or that kid or this kid. Why? Because there are, unfortunately, these fixed mindsets that can come from perceived biases, whether that's explicit or implicit biases that sometimes creep up in our lives. And so as educators, we have to be careful that we are not saying, oh, because, maybe a child looks a certain way, they can only learn at this level, or I don't want to challenge them, or I don't want to give them an opportunity because of how they look. I think we can really miss out on some golden opportunities to really cultivate learning in the classroom if we go that route. So we have to caution ourselves and sometimes reflect, do some introspection, right? Take a step back and make sure that we're really doing all that we can to help all students win. So with that said, I now want to go back into this article here and talk. When you have a reaction to obstacles, it helps you to persevere and find alternatives. But if you had a fixed mindset, you would give up easily or you would avoid obstacles altogether. Okay. So let's focus on growth mindset. I really like growth mindset. Success of others, you're inspired by it and you see it as an opportunity to learn. But if you have a fixed mindset, you'll feel threatened by the success of others and you can become envious or resentful, try to block them, try to, ruin their reputation or degrade them or try to steal and things like that. If it's a fixed mindset, but if it's like it said, success of other, if it's a growth mindset, you'll know because you'll be able to praise others. You'll be able to say their name in the room. You'll be able to be a success and even, potentially like mentor others and things like that. Potential for growth here, it says it's high with the fixed mindset because you're constantly seeking to learn. You're seeking to improve and to develop skills. Whereas a limited mindset, you're less likely to pursue opportunities for growth and development. Long-term outcomes, it has increased resiliency, adaptability, and overall success in various areas of your life. Whereas fixed mindset, there's lower levels of achievement, decreased resilience, and a reduced adaptability to change. So with that said, grit leads to consistent effort over time. I've said that. Okay. So, great resilience in time. So it leads to consistent effort, that resilience, right, over time. And so it's the thing that helps you show up and do the work, even on days when you don't feel like it. There you go, teachers. It is the discipline to stick to your promises and to follow through on your plan. So it's not enough just to say, I'm going to do it. You become a man or a woman of your word. And then it says, when you put in consistent effort, you make steady progress towards your goals. Each day you work on something, you build that momentum, you feel that sense of accomplishment, and that helps you to continue to be motivated and excited. So with that said, we see that grit builds resilience in tough times. So grit doesn't make obstacles disappear like magic, but it helps you deal with them better, right? So you learn to accept it and then you learn how to deal with it. It also fuels your passion for continuous improvement, right? And so you have grit, like it says here, when you're actively looking for ways to build new skills, you set exciting goals to stretch your abilities, and then you're willing to step out of your comfort zone. I love this part. Look at this. It says, grit it keeps the fire for self-improvement burning within you. And then look here. It says it fosters long-term goals and ambitions. So when you're ready to put in the work, which is being gritty, you're going to dream it and you're going to do it. You're going to look at a roadmap of success. You need that vision. And then, of course, you're going to nurture endurance. I love that. Perseverance, persistence, right? You don't want to just say you're gritty. Like you got to accomplish something. Okay. So it says when you have grit, you know that you're learning or it's a valuable and rewarding process, even when it's not always easy. So you never stop growing and expanding your horizons with grit. And it shapes a stronger sense of purpose. I mean, I could keep going and going, guys. This has been amazing. It boosts your confidence through mastery. It spurs you to exceed. I told you guys this. You're going to exceed your limits. You're going to exceed those expectations. Grit, like I mentioned in my TED Talk, when you're working out, you thought you're going to work out for 30 minutes and then you push to 45 minutes. That's grit because you're choosing, like, you just overcome that blockage in your mind of, I can only do 30 minutes today. You never know what you can do if you put your mind to it, right? So here it says, here's some tips. Start with a challenge that you might find a bit uncomfortable. Embrace the discomfort with grit. and you'll soon find yourself doing things that you thought were out of reach. I love that. So they're going to keep going here of grit. Maybe I can cover this another time, but this was fabulous. And this was by Clarissa, like I said. And it's on why grit is important, why grit matters. And I'm so thankful we were able to look at that. So if you want to see that, that's on her, on a blog, I guess, upjourney.com. It was really neat for us. So with that said, all you gritty, so much for joining me today on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled that we had another time together. So with that said, if you're just tuning in towards the end, this podcast will be featured on the X Factor EDU network, hosted by Matthew Joseph. Check out my social media when you get a chance. There's my Facebook, Miss India White. LinkedIn is the India White. Twitter is Indy Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indy238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. Check me out at these events. Can't wait to see you guys. Thank you so much in advance for everyone. We're going to have a great time, y'all. We're going to have a great time. I know we are. And we're going to be very gritty about it. And to those that are planning these conferences that have been gritty, putting the plans together and things, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Savas. You're amazing. And then, of course, check out my website, www.india-fight.com, for books, blogs, or to schedule me for a speaking or coaching event. And also check out the Grit Mini Workshop whenever you get a chance on Grassroots Workshops website. And then remember, you can always come back to this podcast if you're trying to close the achievement gap, but you're having classroom management issues, or if your students just aren't motivated to do the work. Check me out here at the Grit and Equity Talks podcast, and we will get through some solutions together through grit. So with that said, I'll see you guys later. Stay gritty.